It's Arthur again. This is part 2 of Q&A for first time cruisers. Now I'll just give you some more tips. Previously I covered how you get on board and drinks packages and stuff like that. So look at my previous video to get a bit of an idea. Now this one here I'll cover a little bit about activities and some general tips and stuff like that. So the activities on board, you can do whatever you want. You can do shopping, go to theatre shows, movies, trivia. There's an ice skating ring on board, the Voyage of the Seas, a flow rider, mini golf. You can go to the captain's corner, which is kind of like a Q&A with the captain and senior staff. Just give you a bit of a tip about when you're doing the flow rider. What happens is, or when you're doing any of the activities, you've got to sign a waiver beforehand. Now with the rock climb and the flow rider, once you signed your waivers, you get a white wristband, or a wristband I should say. Now this wristband shows the staff there that you have done the waiver and you can do it again. So you can do it as many times as you want. With the ice skating, I showed it in my previous video, but on your C-Pass card, there's a little S just here. And that says that you have signed your waiver for the ice skating, so you can go as many times. The ice skating shows are fantastic. The theatre shows were fantastic. The movies were really good. They were in 3D as well. But yeah, they were really good. So there's lots to do on board. You won't get bored. Now, some general tips I'll have to just let people know, because some people, you know, they didn't know what was going on board, or if you're a first time cruiser, how do things work? And that's what I found. I didn't find enough info about that, so I'm just trying to give as much info as I can about what's it like to be on board for the first time. So first and foremost, I have to say, just be nice to the staff. They're there to do their job and they're there to serve you. People say, oh, they don't get paid enough. And that's why you have to give them tips. When you book your trip, you'll be asked, do you want to pay prepaid gratuities? We chose that so that we know that they do get paid tips. You can choose not to pay tips, but it's highly recommended that you do it. Because we found that if you're very nice to the staff, they're very nice to you, and they go out of their way to help you. And at the end of the day, if they do a really good job, you'll give them a tip. And that's what we did with our waitering staff and our room attendant as well. So we made sure that they got a little extra tip, not including that. From what I understand, talking to the staff, they do get paid pretty good, and they do get looked after when they leave the ship to go back home, from what I understand. So as one put it, I wouldn't be here if they weren't paying me what I was getting paid. So obviously they do get paid right. So just be nice to them and they'll be nice to you. That's the foremost, so I have to say that. And second of all, you're on holidays, enjoy it. Enjoy your holidays. Make what you can out of it and just enjoy it. If you just be nice to people and enjoy your holiday. That's all I've got to say about it. The PowerPoints, I'm going to give you a little tip about the PowerPoints. PowerPoints are US power, so you've got to get an adapter, and the PowerPoints inside your room are turned upside down, and they're not like separate on the wall. They're like right at the bottom near the table part of it. So they're upside down. So just bear in mind if you've got something that has USB attachment ports to it up the top, which we thought we would do, and thought we can charge up our iPhones and stuff like that, and found, whoops, didn't fit. Lucky we had a spare one and we were able to use that. Some people, I've seen on other blogs who are a bit of a sparky, and they have made adaptations, and you can buy cubes which fit, so they're multi-port ones. They're not like PowerPoints. You can't take PowerPoints on power boards on board because of the risk of fire, from what I've been told. Internet. A lot of people ask me about the internet. The internet was very It was a bit of a hit and miss at times, and it wasn't the fastest and it wasn't the slowest. It was $240 for the whole trip, but they didn't guarantee you internet. So your choice. We didn't find it, so we didn't bother with it at all. Another little tip is put your phone on airplane mode, because if you leave it like that, it's constantly, if you leave it off of airplane mode, it's constantly looking for a signal. So you get charged international roaming rates. I didn't find that out, but we had a couple of people who had prepaid plans and found that their money that was on board their prepaid plan was exhausted by the time they came back to Australia, because it was constantly looking for a signal. So turn it off. That's my tip. You might find that it might not work for you or whatever reason. So my tip is have your phone on airplane mode. You can still play your games, you can still use the alarm, you can still take your photos, etc, etc. That's a great little tip. So you don't have a nasty little surprise when you get home. About towels. On sea days, the towels are, you just go and collect them, and you can use them, and then you drop them off once you finish it. Now, on port days, you have to check them out and check them back in. If you don't check them back in, you'll get charged $25 US per towel. So just make sure that you check them back in. Smoking. Now, I've got to say about smoking. We had a couple of people who were smokers on board with us. The smoking areas on the ship on board the Voyage of the Seas was deck 4 and deck 11 starboard side. So those are the areas. If you've got a balcony, I highly recommend you don't smoke off of the balcony, because they will see it and they will notify you that they've been watching you. We've heard numerous accounts while we're on board that people were busted for flicking the cigarette into the ocean, and one person told us he got a $250 fine, US fine, plus cleanup costs, which he was going to find out later on. But there are signs everywhere, and in the cruise compass and stuff like that, saying about smoking. So there's certain areas that you smoke and you butt it out there, because they're conscious about the ocean and how they impact the ocean. One other thing I've got to say is about people say there's too many kids on board, or there's huge lines for stuff. Yes, there are going to be lines to get food, or to get into the theatre or anything like that. Yes, there's 3,500 people on board all wanting to watch a theatre show. Of course there's going to be a lineup, so just be patient. That's all I've got to say. Just be patient, you'll get there in the end. If you allow yourself a little extra time to get there, you'll be fine. The sales, they're okay. Look, you know, each to their own. We did our shopping at the start of the cruise, because we were finding that towards the end of the cruise they just pulled out stuff that they didn't have, they had before, and it was like a markup price, and then they had a discount. So for example, like they had a watch for $500 and they had a 50% discount, which was $250, but that same watch was $250 at the start of the cruise. So, you know, you're not really saving anything. That's what we found. So each to their own. We did a little bit of souvenir shopping on board from the gift shop. Prices range from $5.95 for a key ring to like $150 for a shirt. I got a golf Nike Royal Caribbean shirt, which costed me around about 60 US dollars, which worked out to be about 90 Australian, which is roughly how much it is here in Australia. So they'll have stalls set up for like little souvenirs, like cocktail glasses and stuff like that. They do get charged to your room. Now, big question everyone asks me: how does everything work on board when you buy things? Now, with your Sea Pass, that Sea Pass is like your credit card. So you scan your Sea Pass. You sign for it, and that gets charged to your account, or gets charged to your room. Now, if you have 3 or 4 people in your room, you nominate one person to be the primary holder of the account, and they're responsible for the bill. And everything else is linked to that account. The way to look at how much money you have spent on board, in the TV on your screen will have like an account information. If you go to it and you select it, and you'll see a total, and then it goes into details of where, when, how much things cost, and what purchases were made and when. Alternatively, you can go to guest services and ask for a printout, and they'll be more than happy to give you a printout of all the current charges. So that's how it works. So anything you buy on board gets put onto that card, which is charged to the account, and you pay that bill at the end. Simple. Telephones. Telephones are very expensive. $7.95 US per minute. And lastly, if you've got any questions and queries, just go to guest services. They're located on deck 5, and they'll answer any questions that you have. If you've got any problems or need immediate attention, you need to call back home. Depending on the situation, they might be able to allow you to call back home. But don't take that as gospel. They might turn around and say, well, you have to pay for it regardless. Even if it is an emergency. But generally, they're very good at helping you out. I gave them full credits, and we had a couple of issues, and they solved them quick, smart, and it was great. So, another question people ask me is about getting on and off the ship at ports, and how that works. Generally, if it's docked, you'll get off deck 1, and when you get off, you will have to be scanned out. So you'll be they will scan you, check your photo, yep, okay, free to go. Get off, go do exploring, meet your guide or whatever, do what you got to do, then you come back. When you come back, you'll sign in, you'll get scanned in, and they'll check the photo against you. Yep, that's you, welcome aboard. You go through security checkpoint, so you get scanned and everything, and then once you get scanned, you're more than welcome to do whatever you've got to do. On tendering, you might, on tendering days, so that's when it's not docked at a port, tendering is where they just stand still and you get on like a lifeboat which takes you to shore. Depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it. Now, if you want to get off straight away, you've got to get a ticket, and you've got to collect it from memory, I think it was Star Lounge. You collect it from there. And once you collect it, you wait for your time, and then you head to deck 2, which they will then take you down to deck 1, and they will scan you out. And there's a little platform, and the boat's right up against it, so it's just a short little hop, not even a hop, just a step over onto the boat. It takes around about 8 to 10 minutes to travel to shore, and then you get off, do your exploring, do what you got to do, and repeat the process back to the ship. And once you get on board from tendering, again the same process, you'll get scanned in, and then you do a security check and you're free to go. Sometimes I'll have a towel rack there, or towel check-in point, and give you towels in then, and move on if you checked out towels for the day. People ask me about shore excursions. Did you do a shore excursion? Yes, I did. I did 2. One at Mystery Island and one at Nemea. Now, the pricing for it, yes, it is expensive, but you're guaranteed on and off ship. You're guaranteed back to the ship, and anything happens, they'll make sure you get to the ship at the next port. So that's awesome. Generally, the tour I found was really good and really informative. The guys who took us there were really good and really chatty, really friendly. We got a bit of a drink, bit of a neat. It was pretty good. On Mystery Island, I did a glass bottom kayaking, which was really cool. It's just a kayak, it was a clear plastic kayak, single scull, and it had like stabilizers on there, so you didn't flip over or anything like that. It was really safe. and did some snorkeling afterwards. I found the snorkeling average. I've snorkeled at better spots, but for some people who haven't done it the first time ever, that's great. It's really good. Overall, the tour was about 3 hours, and it was great. It was money worth spending. I didn't have any problems with her. And we did the tuk-tuk ride. Some people will argue about this and say, oh, you can get it a whole lot cheaper on board, on the dock. We couldn't be bothered with it. You know, look, these people met us at the ship. As soon as we exited, they were right there, like 5 meters away from us. We all got on board. They took us around the island. They showed every little bit about the island. Great commentary from the guys running it. We stopped at a couple of spots, got some food and drink, and we were back on board by about 10:30. We took the first one, so we were out of the ship by 8:30. Back on board by about 10:30, and the ship was pretty much deserted. So we actually had a really good time in the Mere. So your choice. You can run the risk of shopping around and do all of that, or be hassle-free and know that you're going to have a good time. That's my opinion. If you feel it's different, I accept that wholeheartedly. So do as you think. I chose shore excursions simply the fact that I wanted to know that I can get on and off the ship without any hassles and make sure that I'm back here before we go to the next port. That was my primary concern. If I have to pay that little extra for it, so be it. Now I'll give you a little bit of a rundown on the ports that we visited. We visited Port Vila, Mystery Island, Isle of Pines and Nemea. Port Vila, it's great for duty-free shopping, and that's about it. We hired a guide, and I think he was $20 per person. He took us around the island and showed us Ireland. He did charge a fee to go to town and back. They do accept Australian dollars over there, so all up it was $25 per person. We had a group of 6 of us, so you can do the maths there, and that was pretty good. Showed us around, took us to Hideaway Island, took us to duty-free shopping. Now, duty-free shopping there is really cheap. For example, it was 14 Australian dollars for a 1.125 litre of Jim Beam, which was pretty cheap. Here in Australia, when we did a bit of research beforehand, we found it to be about $40 at Dan Murphy's, so considerable. Cartons of cigarette smokes was $20, so you can buy as much as you want. But bear in mind, when you are duty-free shopping, you're only allowed to have 2.25 litres of alcohol per person and 50 cigarettes. Now, what happens with all of that? So I'll give you a little bit of rundown on that. With the cigarettes, they do have signs saying that you can open up the carton and start smoking them straight away. After that, it's your choice what you do with them. So, for example, if you smoke all of them, good luck. If you've got some left over, you got to worry about the 50 cigarettes. What we found, we ran into that issue, and that issue we found, we just asked the waitering staff on board, do you smoke? And they said, yes, here you go, have a packet of cigarettes. Yes, you're paying $20, but you know what, you give them a tip and they enjoy it much more than you would in the future. That's my opinion, and we found that quite good because they were quite happy to get a packet of cigarettes. It didn't cost them anything. They then helped us out afterwards with whatever. So that's one way of getting around if you've got excess cigarettes. Now, the alcohol, what happens is when you do buy it, they will bag it up for you and seal it. They'll ask for your cabin number, and that cabin number gets put onto your receipt. And it gets all sealed up. You can't open it up and drink it. If you do, you've got to pay everything to do it. You've got to pay the full rate. When you come back on board, they will confiscate the alcohol. It will get returned to you at the end of the cruise, like on the last night of the cruise. Alright, so they hold it for you until the last day of the cruise. There is alcohol on board duty free, but I found it a little bit expensive. But in saying that, there were a couple of good deals on board after conversion, which we thought, oh wow, that's pretty good. We won't get that here in Australia for that price. So that's what we found with Port Vila. Other than that, it was a great place, great little place to go to. Mystery Island was amazing. It was my idea of what a tropical island should be, and it was amazing. The water was beautiful, the sand was a bit coarse, but it was wonderful. Great snorkeling there, well worth the trip. Isle of Pines, again, the same. Beautiful, beautiful beaches. The sand was super, super, super soft. Everywhere was just fantastic. Yes, they had some stalls there. Same with Port Vila, I've got to say that. And when you get off, there's stalls all the way leading into town. So that's one thing. There's stalls all over the place on Isle of Pines. We didn't spend too long on Isle of Pines. It was a tendering operation, so what we did, we waited until tendering tickets were for free, and that generally happens after 12 o'clock. Now, I've got to say about the tendering, how it works with shore excursion. So if you've got a shore excursion planned and you've got to say first thing in the morning, you don't have to get a tendering ticket. You just go to the La Scala Theatre, find out which group you're in, so whatever short excursion you do, you get a number, and that number will get called, and make sure that you're out on time. So they will say, get there before, half hour beforehand. Make sure you have something to eat, and then, roll up there, take your time, do what you got to do, and you'll get called up. Once you get called up, you get put on your tendering boat and taken off back to the island. Namibia, we did the tuk-tuk train ride. Yes, we paid, I think it was $86 US per person, but it was great. Great commentary. They showed us all the sites. They took us for they took us to different places, which were quite nice, quite good. We got drinks and some little bit of nibbles, which was okay. By the time we got back on board, it was about 10:30, so that was great. Generally, the tuk-tuk ride, the second to last stop is at the city centre square, which has free internet there. We didn't bother with it because everyone's probably doing the same thing. Now, I've got to say, internet about onshore. Do your research beforehand, because some places they say they have internet cafes, but depending on what day you come, their shops might be closed. And bear in mind, when you come in there, you'll be on different time zones. So, for example, at Port Vila, we arrived on Sunday, and their shops closed at midday. But because we're on Sydney time, and they were ahead of us 2 hours, so when we got there, it was 8:30. By the time you get into town, by the time we got into town, it was around about 11:30 their time, even though it was like 9 o'clock Sydney time. And we found by that time they already shut up shop, so we didn't get to do any internet cafe, go to any internet cafe. Same with Namir, there were some there, but we just didn't bother with it. It's up to you. If you are willing to go there, let me know what it's like, because if I go back there again, I'd like to know if it's decent or not. Right, I'll get on to now about disembarkation. Now, disembarkation is the process of you leaving the ship. Now, a couple of days beforehand, you will get in your cabin a questionnaire on how you are planning to leave the ship. So you'll nominate a time when to go, and the day before, that's a couple of days, and you drop it off to gift services, and they'll collect through it, and they'll go through it. The night before you leave, you get given your duty-free alcohol, and some luggage tags, which has a number corresponding to the time that you're leaving. So for instance, it's number 15, you'd be leaving at, say, 9 o'clock in the morning. Right? Group 15, leaving at 9 o'clock. That will tell you which area you've got to go to for disembarkation. On the luggage tags, you put your name and number and details on there, so you know that's your luggage when you're looking for it. Second of all, that also acts as the collection point. So not only is it your group number that's leaving, it's your collection point. So when you get off board, off the ship, you go to your collection area. So if it's 15, you go to collection area 15, you look for your luggage, take it, and go further on. On the morning, you will receive your final account on board. So people generally are paying their accounts on the day, which is not a really good thing to do, because you're lining up. The beauty of having a credit card is credit card linked to your sea passes is that it gets charged at the end of the cruise. Now I've got to give you a little tip about that. On the sea booklet, there's an option in there, I think it's on the last page, which says about how you want to pay the conversion rate. Tick bank choosers, not the cruise line, because the cruise line will give you the worst one out there. The bank will at least sort of look after you in that aspect. You put your luggage out the night before. Generally, they'll start collecting until after 11 p.m. They'll start collecting. So have your day bag ready with all your medicines and change of clothes, etc., etc., and all your personal effects. So clear out the safe, make sure your passport's all ready, and all your details, all your transfer stuff, and etc., etc. Generally, I try to say to people, have a rough conversion rate in your head. So if you know that, say for instance, when we travelled, the Aussie dollar was at 75 cents, we added an extra 25% to 30% on top of the final bill. So say if it was $1,000, we added an extra 30%, which worked out to be 1,300 Australian dollars. So 1,000 US, about 1,300. So you've got that conversion rate in your head, so you know when you're paying at the end, you know roughly how much you're paying, because there's obviously fee charges and stuff like that. Now what happens when it gets paid, generally we found for the first time, which was a little bit odd, they were taking lump sums out. They weren't taking it one hit, they were taking like lump sums. They'll take like $300 here, $400 here, you know, and then it add up to the final amount. And that's what we found, and that final amount was the conversion rate. So it was a little bit odd the way that they did it. However, in the end, it was roughly how much we expected it to be. So it works out all in the end. On the day of leaving, I suggest you have breakfast firsthand, because you never know when you're not going to eat. Depending if you have to fly back, you know, if your flight's later on in the day, you might not be able to, or you know, you'll probably find something else where to eat. But I suggest have something to eat beforehand. Have your final breakfast on board. It's a good memory. And then you go to your assigned area to where you go. For us, it was at the tavern area, tavern bar, deck 4. We got there about 8:15. Our disembarkation time was 8:30. And then when they call out your number in that group, so you go, make sure you have all your immigration papers filled out. That gets dropped off to you the night before. Make sure you have that all filled out and have that handy along with your passport. Then you clear immigration and customs. We found the total time from leaving the ship to clearing customs to being outside the port 20 minutes. Generally with the customs, if you've got something out of the ordinary, they'll stop you. But if you've got nothing to declare, straight through, no problems. That's what we found. We didn't have anything major to declare, and whatever stuff we did have to declare, they took a look at it and just passed us on. They were quite good. I have to say that the customs and the immigration was a speedy process, and it was great. And then you get on your transfer and head back home, like as we did. We just got our minibus back to the airport, caught the plane, back home. We were back home around about 2:30 in the afternoon, which was really good, considering we left the boat at 8:30. So that was great. Hopefully I've answered enough questions or given you a rough idea how things work. If I've missed anything, just please feel free to leave a comment, like my video, and share it with your friends. If you'd like me to answer anything else, just please leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Well, on that, I've got to say, people have asked, did you enjoy it? Yes, I did. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Best holiday I've ever had. Will I be going on a cruise again? Yes, I have caught the cruise bug, and I am already in planning stages of my next cruise, and hopefully I'll do like a little blog video of my adventures day to day about my next cruise. So until then, good luck, and I hope I get to speak to you soon. Thank you.